You were the one that just texted me, I love you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not lying.
Are you over your heartbreak?
No, never. Till the day I die.
How do you get over a heartbreak, bro?
For normal people, you learn how to let go. There's a lot of beauty in it. I could talk a lot about it. I know a lot about it. I just can't do it.
Why haven't you done it yet?
As a person, I kind of cling to my sadness. I don't know why I do it. It's a bad habit. No Steve Lacy. I feel like I have to keep it because I always have that false hope. And at least I'm honest with myself about it. I believe it's a tad bit unhealthy at times.
If you're being honest, things haven't worked with them in the past, so what would change this time around?
Probably nothing, but I like the thrill of trying again.
I hate you.
I like to be wrong sometimes.
That's fair. Do you think heartbreak is something that you just get over, or it's something that disappears after a certain amount of time?
It stays there forever. You just gradually get numb to it. There'll always be a part of you that feels upset and broken because of that.
I think it's because like you spend so much time with somebody and you grow like feelings for them. All of that, if things don't work out, was kind of wasted in a way, because some people, they just can't figure out how to keep things platonic.
It's me. I'm niggas.
So I think everyone subconsciously keeps a person in the back of their mind, especially if you're in like a developmental stage of your life or something important is happening. Like a lot of people remember their high school sweetheart. Personally, I like to play the denial game and be like, oh man, it would be cool if I could work this out with them and talk to them again in the future. And I feel like everyone tosses that thought around in their head once in a while. And it's not wrong too, because people yearn for other people. And I hate that people think that it's weird to be that way.
About the fact that people toss that thought around, I think, yeah, of course, but like sometimes things end for a reason and you just have to accept that. After the first heartbreak or something like that, things aren't usually the same way they were before. I think things and people in general change the more time passes on.
Yeah, obviously everything changes. That doesn't mean that everything has to change. People always grow as time goes on. That's all that time really is. Sometimes you realize that things have changed and maybe you won't work out, or maybe it does work out and you get what you wanted. Sometimes it's not worth taking the risk, honestly, but I prefer to take the risk. I'm a gambling man.
How many times has your heart been broken?
Too many to count. Heartbreak, there's many different types of heartbreak. I think people don't understand that. Heartbreak on a large scale, like you got broken up with, someone's died and your heart is broken because you miss them. Your family isn't with you and you're heartbroken because you miss them. There's actually an album by that title, Friends That Break Your Heart, by James Blake, and it's a wonderful introspective take on how people grow apart with time. There are obviously more heartbreaking things than others, but there are people who are more sensitive and they have their heart broken by all types of little things because those are important to them. Those little heartbreaks are just as important, if not more important, than the big heartbreaks. Even though the big heartbreaks feel like you've just been shot in the chest with a cannon.
Has that made you believe in love lust?
Honestly, I question that a lot. I would say, yeah. I've said this in a conversation with someone. I think I wrote it down in a poem. People walk around like love's some inevitable time bomb that's gonna go off in their chest at some right moment. You spend a long time trying to find it, especially if you're like a sentimental type of person. That's one of the main things that you want to do. You want to go find love, and it hurts, man. It hurts. Pain is half of love. That's an old saying.
Do you think that it could also be considered happy because if something doesn't work out, then you can find something that'll work out?
I don't know. Everyone's always like, there's more fish in the sea. Sometimes you just want that one fish, man. You don't want to have to put in the work to go fishing again. And I'm sick of having to do that, honestly, because that whole talking stage shit that's become so normalized is annoying.
As someone who's been called sentimental in the past, how does the negatives from past relationships impact yours going forward?
It's definitely something I think about when I'm with somebody or whatever, and they do something that reminds me, or like they say something that reminds me of a different girl that I've talked to. When I get in those situations, I kind of like get a little nervous and I stop talking and everything for a little bit. It impacts me, definitely. I would say that it's made me more cautious, harder to love, and it's not very fun. It has made me have a lot of issues trusting people as well.
Someone who's been called like annoying. I don't know if she was even wrong based on like the circumstances, but it's definitely impacted the way I talk to people. Sometimes I feel like I should just talk less or do less because I'm worried about how I'll be perceived by those close to me. Because I feel like just getting negatively slammed by somebody who you love and somebody you care about, like it just like affects you regardless. Even you could be like, try to like dust it off, but like it really sucks for real. I'm not even gonna lie.
Definitely that, especially the feeling of not feeling good enough after a relationship. Like if you've been cheated on, you know how that feels. You're like, they had to go find somebody else, they had to go be with a different partner. That carries with you for your entire life. Your failed relationships in like love life can affect your actual relationships in real life too, because if you're acting off because you're upset, you can have arguments with your friends and your family, and you can lose friends and family trying to fight for that lost cause. And a lot of people will give you advice and you won't take it, even though you probably should, but you'd rather learn the hard way because you're a stubborn little
The opportunity was there, would you do it again?
1,000 times.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I'm in a different boat than you. I probably wouldn't do it again, to be honest, because the way like it affected me and how I move in my relationships going forward, like I actively move differently.
Yeah. Cold-hearted.
When people say, yeah, I do it again in a heartbeat, I'm like, we not the same.
I think that's part of me being a sentimental person. Yeah, I would, because you know, you always want to take that chance again, because you still love that person. Every person I've ever loved, I still have love for them. I never really stopped that. It's just I don't use it and I don't show it anymore because they don't show it for me.
Making me think a little bit. I could see it like I'm not being fair because they did come into my life at a point where I like really genuinely needed them. So saying, oh, I definitely wouldn't do it again, I don't know where I'd be right now if they weren't there.
Even if you don't change your stance, you at least know what I mean. Like, you've thought about it.
I feel like trying to go back after it doesn't work repeatedly, like over and over and over again. I can't snap my fingers because my hands are full, but like continue. Thanks, man. At that point, you're just skewed in like the wrong direction. You think you're wrong to think about like past loves and stuff like that if you're in a relationship currently?
No, because I think it's an important thing to understand how you love and the things that you have loved, to be able to love other people, love yourself, and to have those people truly love you. The thing I would say is you have to be honest with your partner about that, and you have to openly have dialogue with them. You shouldn't do it in an unhealthy way, saying that you miss your ex. I think you should look at it as a constructive way and talk to them as a way to grow your relationship with them and maybe fill gaps that you still have left. I hate that it's become such a taboo thing in relationships to not talk about past experiences, because people hate when you talk about your ex. If you're in a serious relationship with someone and you're thinking about the way that other people have hurt you, I think it's important to talk about that, because that is an important emotional experience, and if they don't understand that, then maybe you should have a deeper conversation than that with them.
You're a smart guy, man. You graduated high school?
Yeah.
Do you have any words for them if they were to see this video?
Someone somewhere once said that love is sour grapes. I thought about that for a while, because a lot of the times when you're eating grapes, you think it's gonna be something so great and so sweet, and then you bite into it and you found that it was all false pretense and you've been psyching yourself out for nothing. And a lot of the time when you do that, you look down on yourself and you think that you're some clown, and you pity and you throw your own pity party, and it's sad. But I think it's important to remember that I've never looked down on myself for that, and that it's something that I accept as a part of myself, and even you told me that I shouldn't change.
Final question, man. Can you see yourself still being friends with that person?
I think that's a hard feat for anyone. Some people do it really well and healthy. A lot of people do it unhealthily. Me personally, and I've expressed this to multiple people, there's not a lot of longevity in friendships sometimes, and especially if there's awkward vibes and you guys don't really want to talk to each other because you have awkward feelings about a breakup or whatever. I mean, there's gonna be tension at some points because things are gonna remind you and you're gonna get upset about things, and like always, friends are gonna fight. It's gonna be magnified to a greater extent because you have harsher feelings about them because of history. And I think think being a friend with someone after that is something that a lot of people would want to do, because you realize after a while that you would rather have someone in your life than out of it. But I think it's important to know to take your space and not to jump into anything immediately right after, and to make sure that you're being healthy and comfortable, because you have to keep your head in check this entire time. And if you fall off, you can't let that happen, because then that might affect your friendship, because you're going to project whether you want to or not, and it is not going to be healthy anymore.
You said that was hard, but I asked you whether or not you would do it, or you could.
I want to, but if I'm being honest with myself, I don't know if I can.
I feel you on that, I'm not gonna lie. Because I don't know if part of you will always miss them. I don't know if I want to say that. But I would say, like, talking to somebody and building a connection with them, like, even if it's not to that extent, sometimes you just don't want to lose it regardless. But things don't be the same. Like, you'll miss talking to them for the same reasons you fell for them in the first place. So trying to make all of that strictly platonic is a lot more difficult than it sounds. I thought I'd be able to do it. Like, I'd be able to just drop in, let go. I was very wrong. Like, I was so wrong. Because at first things were just like extremely sad, but now honestly I think I'm a lot more bitter about the situation, even though a lot more of it than I'd like to admit was probably my fault. Going from being in love to friends is something that takes a lot of emotional maturity, and I just don't think I'm there yet, to be honest.
You mentioned something about missing them to a certain degree, and I think it's important to note, just because viewers and everything, this is just general populace. Because when you date someone, there's always a note of physical attraction. Whether you like to admit it or not, you are attracted to the person that you are dating. You're not going to be with someone who repulses you, unless you're into that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, unless you're a kinky guy. I was dead thinking that, but I didn't want to throw you off.
You're always going to find that person attractive, probably. Like, I still do. Especially if you have been with a person in, like, a sexual situation, you are going to miss that and think about that sometimes. It's not healthy most of the time to think about things like that, but it's something you can't help. The way to cope with that best is to remember that that is the past, to take a deep breath, to remember that things like that might not be able to happen anymore. There might be a good reason for that. And don't think with your or vagina or non-gender conforming parts.
Non-gender conforming parts is nuts.
If you're an amputee.